Welcome to 11th Dragon. 11th Dragon is a dungeon-crawling roguelite card game inspired namely by things like Hades and Regicide. In order to play through 11th Dragon, you'll battle against a succession of progressively harder enemy waves, followed by progressively harder enemy bosses. Finally, trying to defeat the final boss, the Black Warrior of the North, Xuan Wu. If you manage to do this, you win, but if at any point your health drops to 0 or you run out of cards to draw from your draw deck, then you fail. You must start the round again. In order to play the game, you need a standard 54 card deck of playing cards, as well as a 4-sided dice, 6-sided dice, and an 8-sided dice. To set up the game, you don't need a playmat. I have one here to help track my health and keep track of where I'm placing things on my board. But you're going to need to sort out your boss cards. In order to do this, from your deck, you're going to remove all of the face cards and jokers. So that's your jacks, queens, kings, and jokers. And shuffle each of them within their rank respectively. So rank your 4 jacks together, shuffle them. Place 1 into your first boss space, which is our red boss, Zhu Chui, and place 1 jack into your draw deck. Discard the other 2 jacks to the side, they're not going to be used for this game. Do the same for the queens, so take the 4, shuffle, place 1 into the second boss space, our white boss, Bai Hu, place 1 into your draw deck and discard the other 2. Kings will be placed. Take 1 and place it into your third boss space, the blue boss, Qing Long. Place 1 into your deck and discard the other 2. There's only 2 jokers, so you would place 1 into the final boss space, the Black Warrior of the North, Xuan Wu. Place 1 into your deck. Give this a shuffle, and then you are ready to play. In order to explain the gameplay, we are going to actually begin a run and explain everything as it comes. So I'll need my D4 and my D8 ready. My D4 will deal damage to cards, all of the enemy cards on the table, according to the rank that I roll. So if I roll a 3, I'll deal 3 damage to every single card on the table. A D8 is single target damage. So if I roll a 6, I would deal 6 damage to 1 target on the board. Before drawing the enemy waves and the enemy bosses, I need to select blessings. Blessings are given by the Dragon King or any of his 9 sons before each battle. These blessings can help us defeat the enemies without taking as much damage. Red cards are more strategic, black cards are more based around damage. So I'm going to start in the first boss area. Each boss area is going to have 3 waves of enemies and then 1 boss battle. So there's a total of 4 battles, which means before each battle I will get 1 blessing. So I'll get a total of 4 blessings in area 1, boss area 1. This is Zhu Chui's area, the red bird of the south. So before I draw the enemy wave, I'm going to get my blessings. To get my blessings, I'm going to draw 3 cards and I will draft one of them to join my blessings table. So for my blessings table, I'm going to want one of these cards. If I collect 4 of a kind anywhere on the table, I get something called a greater blessing. These are game changing. These are good to aim for. So you kind of want to manage your deck and manage your blessings table to try to aim for these whilst being able to keep cards and deal with things. I think it's always a good idea to start with a heart, and you'll see why. And it's quite a high card as well. So I'll take this card and place it in my blessings table. The 2 cards from my blessings that I don't select, I'm going to place face up in my discard pile. I can look at these anytime. Okay. After this, I'm going to need to draw my first enemy wave. The enemy waves, we're going to draw cards from the top of the deck until we reach a point threshold. This threshold will depend on which wave and which area we are in. For the first area, the first wave is going to be worth 13 points. So I'm going to draw cards from the top of the deck until I reach or exceed 13 points. So here is a 9. All of our face cards are worth 10. So this is 19. With this card, we exceed our 13 points. So now I'm going to deal damage to these. For enemy waves, the health of the enemy, how much damage they can take from me, is based on the rank of the card. Face cards are worth 10. All of the number cards are worth their numbers. Aces are worth 1. So, in order to do this, I'll take my 2 dice. If I have any black blessings, before I roll my dice, I can choose to use them at this point. I don't, so I'm just dealing straight up damage. With this, I deal a 4. So I've dealt 4 here. That means I deal 4 damage to all of the enemies, and then I deal 2 damage to a single enemy. So let's use this on the 9. Okay. I've now finished my turn. The 9 has taken 6 health, so it's down to 3 health. The king has taken 4 health, so it's down to 6 health. So 3 and 6. Whichever cards are left alive at the end of a turn, when I finished rolling my dice, each card will attack me for 1 damage. So in this turn, I would take 2 health points of damage. However, I have a Heart's Blessing. Heart's Blessings allow me to reduce damage up to the rank of the card. So I can exhaust my blessing, which means I can't use the blessing again until it's restored, which we'll talk about. And I can block damage up to the damage here. These are going to deal 2 damage. I can exhaust this. My rank is 8, so I would actually block all the 2 damage, but I can't use this card again until it is restored. Okay, so I've blocked the damage. Here on my next turn, I'm going to deal 4 damage to all of them again. So remember, this was on 3 health. The 9 gets placed face down. The king is still on 2 health, but I'm dealing 7 single target damage. It also gets destroyed. When we destroy an enemy wave, we don't put it into the discard pile. We put it to the bottom of the draw pile. So we place it on the bottom of the draw pile, ready for the total next round. After the wave, whichever area we are in, so we're currently in the red area, in the first boss area, we can restore blessings from this area. So I get this restored at the end of this turn. However, if I was in the second area and I had exhausted a blessing, this only gets restored after I have beaten the boss. So we do want to manage this as a resource eventually. Right now, it's getting restored after every enemy wave because I'm in the same area as where this card would be. So we're going to move on to wave 2, but first we need to get our blessings cards. So we've got our ace, 8 and 3. Taking another 8 here is good because we're trying to collect 4 of a kind. If I get 4 8s, I get a really good effect. So I'm going to collect this 8. I'm going to place it here. My 3, I wouldn't want to take anyway because I've lost a 3 down here into my discard pile. And an ace is a very low card, even though diamonds can help. Here I've selected a club. A club will augment damage to my single target roll. So we'll talk about that when we get into an enemy wave. The second enemy wave of Area 1 is worth 14 points. So we're going to draw cards until we get to 14 or exceed 14. So right now we're on 7. Aces are worth 1, so we're on 8. We're on 10. And we're on 15. So these are the cards that I'm dealing with here. Okay, so I'm going to take my roll. And before I roll my dice, I can decide if I want to exhaust a black card. The clubs here will add damage to my single target roll, equal to half of the rank rounded up. So half of 8 is 4, so I can add 4 to my single target damage roll. My total damage roll here, it was 4, so I'm going to deal 4 damage to all of these cards, which does actually kill all of these. This would be left on 1 health, but I would deal 3 damage plus the 4 from here, 7 damage to this card. This one also gets destroyed. Remember, when we finish with a wave, we place it to the bottom of the draw deck. We restore any blessings in the same area of the wave that we've just played, so we get this restored as well. And then we play 3 blessings cards. I have a 10, a 6 of hearts, and an 8 of diamonds. We are getting really lucky with our draws. Again, an easy choice. If we get 4 8s in a row, we can get really good effects. We get a greater blessing if we get 4 of a kind anywhere on our blessings table. So even if I don't get an 8 in the next turn, if in round 3 I get an 8 somewhere to draw, then I can deal with that. These 10s and these 6s get discarded. Okay. Next enemy wave, the third enemy wave in the first area, is worth 15. So we can draw cards up until we reach or exceed 15. We get 15 exactly with these 2 cards, which is actually really nice. With this, we're going to deal damage. I'm going to decide to use this card, my clubs, to add 4 to my single target damage roll. So my shared damage roll is 3, so I deal 3 damage to all of them, and then I can deal 12 damage to a single target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy this card, and then this card is left on 3 health, because remember I've done 3 damage to all the cards. Now, usually, the other cards would attack, and I can block with my hearts. But I have a diamond blessing now. Diamond blessings allow me to restore dice whose current score is equal to the rank or less. So right now I have a rank of 8, so I can exhaust this to bring back dice whose current score is 8 or less. I have an 8 here, but my dice is at 3, my d4 is at 3. So I couldn't take both of these because the total of this would be 11. Instead, I'm going to take my single target damage roll and I'm going to deal it again. I deal 4 damage. It was on 3 health. It gets destroyed. So our diamonds help restore our dice to our hands. This can be used once per turn. Only once per turn. The black cards can be used once per dice. So if I have a club, I can use 1 club to ignore this dice. I couldn't use a second dice with the same roll. Okay, we can use as many hearts as we want for taking damage and deal with that. We take our wave cards and we place them at the bottom of our deck. We restore any blessings that are in the same area. So we've dealt with this before. Place them here, get my dice back. We've done 3 enemy waves, so it's time for the enemy boss. So we're going to take this jack and we're going to place it face up in the enemy area. Before we face the jack though, we need to get our blessings. So let's draw for our blessings. We've got an ace hearts, a 3 of diamonds, or the 9 of clubs. You might think it's always better to take the highest card, but think about later on in the game where I'm trying to get 30 points from the draw deck and it's severely diminished because I've got lots of blessings and lots of cards in the discard pile. Having high cards means that we're more likely to reach this threshold. I actually lost the last run on this very last wave because I couldn't draw cards to get to 30 points. So I ran out of cards in my deck and I lost. So I'm actually going to keep this 9. I know we don't keep it, it goes into the discard pile, but there are ways to get cards from our discard pile into our deck anyway. Instead, I'm going to take the 3 because if I get 4 8s, this 3 has its effect doubled. All of my black cards under rank 5 have the effect doubled. So this would actually be worth a 6 anyway. And we can talk about the spades as well. So right now we're facing the first boss. The first boss is different. All of the bosses are different because they have a different health pool and a different damage pool. So the first boss has a damage pool of 10. So if it attacks, I will take 10 damage. And it has 20 health. So if I can deal 20 health to this card, we'll get destroyed. It will actually become another blessing for us. We'll get essentially a 10 of spades if we manage to defeat this boss. This boss is Juchue, the red boss, the red bird of the south. So, in order to play this, I think I'm just going to use my 2 black cards off the bat. Remember, we can use 1 per dice. Our clubs, if you remember, augment our d8. The spades will augment our d6. So we're going to take half of the damage rounded down. For the clubs, it's half of the rank rounded up. and add that to our d4. So here with the 3, half of that would be 1.5. It adds 1 point to my d6. But remember, if I get another 8, this technically goes up to adding 3 to my d4. So I'll deal with my d4. That exhausts this card. It adds 1 damage to my d4, which was 1, so I've done 2 damage. It's got 18 health left. And then I'm going to add 4 to my single target damage, which is 2. So I've dealt 6, I've dealt 8 damage, it still has 12 left. Remember, once per turn I can use a diamond to bring dice back into my hand up to the ranks. This is 1, this is 2, so that's a total of 3, which means I can get both cards back and deal damage. Remember, it was on 12 health. I then deal a 4, so it's on 8 health. I deal a 4, so it's on 4 health. I don't have anything else I can do before it attacks. It's going to attack me for 10 damage. I can block 8 of that, so I can exhaust this. So instead of taking all 10 damage, I'll take just 2. So I'm down to 18 health on my health pool. This can never be restored, so it's a resource that really needs to be managed. After this, it's currently on 4 health. Let's roll my dice and deal 8 in a single damage. This card is destroyed. Instead of placing it into the deck, it is placed here as an additional blessings card. So now technically I have the blessing of the Jack of Spades, which means it's like a spade but with a rank of 10. So I would take half of that damage and round it down. After this, we're done with area 1. When we are done with a boss, what we do is we restore all of the blessings on the table, and then we choose up to 3 cards from our discard pile to put back into our draw pile. We can use this to begin to select our things. I want the 3s back in because I'm already collecting a 3 here. So I'm going to put the 3s back into this deck, and I can leave it there or I can put a card in. Obviously, if you put high cards in, it means you're more likely to get a high card to face against, which means it's more difficult. But it also means later on in the game, you make sure you have enough cards. So I'm going to go for a nice middle ground, and I'm going to put a 6 back into here. So I am actually going to take this. You can choose to put less cards back in, which helps you with your draw pattern. So if I know that I'm trying to get 8s, then I can begin to try to make sure that that's in my blessings pile, especially when the deck becomes smaller towards the end of the game, if you keep the deck smaller by not putting as many cards back in now. Okay, so shuffle the deck and move on to area number 2. Area number 2 is going to start here, so we're going to get our blessing for our first one. We get a joker, a 4, and a 10. Let's talk for a second about jokers. Jokers obviously have a color. So if I decided to select a joker as a blessing, this essentially takes on a 10, and I can choose whether I want it to be a spades or a clubs when I use it. If it was a red joker, then I could choose whether I want it to be a heart or a diamond at the time when I use it. It's a really strong card to have, but obviously it doesn't build any synergies on the blessings table. However, let's say that instead of drawing blessings now, I am drawing the enemy waves, and I see a joker. What I will do is this becomes a mini boss. This becomes a mini boss. So I'll keep drawing cards until the point threshold is met. It's 18 here. So I would take the joker, and this would be my only card that I am fighting. These 2 cards would be put to the side. I would draw cards until I reach the thing, with the joker being worth 10. So if I drew the joker first, I would keep drawing the 4. I'm only on 14, I haven't reached 18. I'm now on 24, I've reached 18. But I'm only going to fight this card. For this, I would put these 2 cards to the side, and I would fight the joker as a mini-boss. For the mini-boss, its health is going to be the area number you are on, area 1, 2, 3, 4, times 10. So I'm on area 2, so its health would be 20, and its attack is the area number times 4. So if I forward it down here, it would have 4 attack. It now has 8 attack. I would deal with it when I defeat the mini-boss, I add these cards to my next blessing draw. So I'd do this and I would draw 3 more cards, and I can select now from 5 cards which one I would like to draw. However, that didn't happen, so we're going to choose which cards we want. We definitely don't want the 10 because we already have a 10 in here, so it's unlikely that we're going to be able to get 4 10s on our boards. I could go for 4s, or I could just have the Joker. If we get this last 8 at any point, which we'll be able to try to push for later, having 4s is a good idea. Specifically black 4s though. But I can try to build up the 4s, which is a really powerful blessing as well. But the Joker is just a super, super, super powerful card. So I will take it, even though it doesn't build any synergies. So I'm going to deal with my first wave of Area 2, which is going to be worth 18. So that's 6, that's 12, that's 19. Okay, so we're up to our threshold. Right now, if I exhaust any of these cards from this area, let's say that I use this to block some health in this turn, this doesn't get restored at the end of the round. This only gets restored once I have defeated the boss of the area, because it's not in the same area as what I'm currently fighting in. So these need to be managed quite scarcely, but also within the context of the game. So right here, I might exhaust this card for this round, and I'm going to use it as a spade. This will add 5 to my shared damage roll, which means I'm pretty much going to be able to destroy everything on the table. This might seem really strong, which it is, specifically for this area, because I can use it every single enemy wave. However, as we move on to the harder areas, I can only use this once for the 4 battles, so it does become more difficult. For this, remember I'm adding 4 to this. I've got I'm adding 5 to this, so I'm dealing 6 damage to all of them. So these get destroyed, and then I'm dealing 4 damage to this single card, so all of the cards get destroyed in the first wave. These high spades and high clubs are obviously really powerful, but after this area they can only be used once. So my wave gets put face down to the bottom of my draw deck. I don't have my 8s or my 3s, which is good. You don't want to draw the cards that you want for your blessings in the enemy wave, because you know it's going to go to the bottom of the deck. It's okay if the deck is small, but we're still quite early on in the game. So 3 blessings. We've got a king, we've got the 2, and we've got an ace of spades. Being able to take damage is always helpful. I'll take that. We'll exhaust these. We're getting rid of a lot of high cards into our discard pile, so I might want to put some of them back in after we defeat here. Second wave is worth 19 points, so we'll draw until we reach or exceed 19. Here we go, we've got 2 10s. For this, I'm going to use the Joker and add 5 to my single damage dice roll. So deals 12, it'll kill one of them outright. We'll defeat one of them outright, and then I'm going to deal 1 damage to this jack. So this jack is on 9 health, and it would attack me for 1 damage, but I can exhaust my health so I don't take any damage in this turn. So it's currently on 9 health, 8 health, and 3. So it's going to be down to 5 health. It's going to attack me for 1 damage. I could use this card to burn it, but I'm going to save that for later on. So I'm going to take that damage. It's currently on 5 health. I deal 4 and I deal 1. I deal 5 health. It is destroyed. These get put to the bottom of the deck. I restore these 2 cards to my area 2, and I draw 3 more blessings. Got a 5 of clubs, a 5 of spades, and a 2 of spades. I'm going to take the 5 of clubs. This will deal an extra 3 damage on here, or I can deal an extra 2 damage shared across. I've already got the Joker for this round, so I don't think it's important to get this. Having 2 of the same number in the blessings isn't great, because that means that the 5 is in the discard pile. I need to put this back in if I want to collect the 5s together. Okay, wave 3 is going to be worth 20 points, so we're going to draw up until we're on 20, which which is 5, 6, or 11, 14, 17, and 27. So this is going to be what we deal with. For this card, I'm going to use this as a spade, add 5 to my d4, add half rounded up, 3 damage to my d8. My d4 did 2 damage plus 5. It deals 7 damage to all of them. So everything has taken 7 damage. I deal 4 plus 3, 7 damage to this 10. So all of these are destroyed. This isn't good because I do want 3s, and I got 2 3s in this round. 2s would also be nice. I've got 1, 2, and then things at the bottom of the draw pile. For example, the 5. That I don't want. So next we're going to be taking on the boss, but before we take on the boss, we're going to get our... We started off with some very good draws. We're not doing good draws now. We've got lots of aces in here that I don't want to put back in, so we're not going to take the ace. That'll get discarded. We've got a 2 on the board, and how many 2s do we have in our discard pile? These can be looked at any point to help strategize. I've got 2 2s, so I'm going to have to put 2 2s back in order if I want the 2s, which is a super, super powerful Greater Blessing. And then I'm going to have to put a high card back in to try to keep my point total inside the deck quite high. Which means I think I take the 2 and I discard the 6. Okay, so now we'll deal with the second boss. For every boss, their attack goes up by 5 and their health goes up by 10. So here it was 10 damage, so now it's dealing 15 damage. It was on 20 health, so now we're on 30 health. For this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a joker as a +5 to my single target. No, I'm not going to do that. For the first round, I'm going to exhaust this card, which would be 5 to the d4. I'm going to exhaust this card, which would be 4 to the d8. So let's deal this damage. So I'm dealing 6 plus 6. I'm dealing 12 damage to the card. Remember, it has 30 health, so it's still got 18 health. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exhaust this to bring the dice back into my hand. For this turn, I'm going to add the joker to my d4, so that's going to add 5 here, and I'm going to add 3 to my single target damage roll. Remember, it's got 18 health left. I'm dealing 4 plus 5, so that's 9. It's got 9 health left. 4 plus 3 is 7, so it's got 2 health left. There's nothing else I can do. It's going to attack me for 15. I can block 10 of that damage, and it's going to deal 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage to me. It's on 2 health, correct? Which means no matter what I roll, I'm going to deal at least 2, and I get this card back into my hand. I get this now as a blessing. Queen of Spades. After the round, every card gets restored that's been used. And I get to select up to 3 cards to put into the deck. I think we've already discussed that I'm going to add a high card, and I'm going to add the 2 2s into the deck here. Give it a shuffle. Reset this. I'm on 12 health going into the 3rd area. Okay. So before our first wave of this area, I'm going to draw 3 blessings. 5, Queen, and 10. We do have a 5 on the board. Do we have any 5s in here? We do have 5s in here. I don't think 5s are something that I'm aiming for. Queen of Diamonds is going to be a strong one to have, so I'm going to take this into my card. I don't mind losing the 10s. 5 is also gone. Here we're going to draw up to 23. So we've got 2, 4, these are going to go to the bottom of the deck, which isn't great. 2, 4, 9, 18, we're going up to 28, 21, 28. So we're going to deal damage to here. I do think I'm going to exhaust this straight away and add 5 damage because we've got quite a lot of enemies to this roll, and I'm going to keep this one clear. So deal 5 damage, that's 9 damage to all of them. All of these get killed in the first round, but I have used a card. This doesn't get restored now. This can only become restored once I've defeated Qinglong. Okay, move on to the second round. We're going to get 3 blessings. Got a 4, a 10, and an 8. We have our last 8 here. What this does is it gives me a greater blessing. The greater blessing effect for 8, which is the Bi'an, the son of the dragon who looks after prisons and courtrooms, is any black blessing that I have that is under rank 5 have the effect doubled. So my 3 here has its effect doubled. My 2 here has its effect doubled. So essentially this becomes a 4 of clubs, this becomes a 6 of spades. Which is nice. And then I can begin to draft things alongside that if I want more smaller numbers. The 10 and the 4 get discarded down here, and I draw up to... Sorry, that should have been 24 in the last round, not 28. Now we're dealing up to 24 this round. It should have been 23 before. So we're on 13, we're going up to 24, we're on 22, we're on 32. This has been exceeded, that's fine. I'm going to add 4 to my d4 roll and see what happens. So that's a 2, so that deals 6 damage to all of them, and then I get to deal another additional 6 damage. So the 4 is destroyed. All of these are down to 3 and 4 health. I'm going to take out this, so I've got 2 3 health ones left. I'm going to get back up to 10. These are currently at 8, so I can take both of these back into my hand. Remember, this is on 3, this is on 3. I deal 2 damage, so both of these are on 1. I deal this, so one of them is destroyed, the other one is on 1 health. I would take 1 damage. I could decide to burn this card, but I am going to keep it and just take the damage instead, and then it's on 1 health and it gets destroyed. These get put to the bottom of the card pile, and blessings get restored, and then I go to my blessings. I'm going to take this 6, this 3, or this 3. I'm going to take this black 3. If you remember from my greater ability, I can double this up to a 6 of diamonds. I can put the 3 back in to hopefully get the 3s later on, because I currently have 1, 2 3s on the board. I have 2 2s on the board, so I can go for 2s or I can go for 3s while I'm drawing. Okay, next wave is up to 25 points. So it's on 11, 17, 23, 33. I need to deal with all of these. I'm going to add both of these. So I'm going to add 4 to my d4 and 3 to my d6, because remember this now counts as a 6 of diamonds. So we deal 3 onto this. Okay, so 3 plus my 4 is 7, so I deal 7 damage to all. I would normally deal 2, so remember this would have 1 health left, but I added the 3, so this is also destroyed. It's got all of its health taken out. These get placed to the bottom of the deck. I restore, and now we're going to face the third boss. I'm currently on 11 health. And I'm going to get my last blessing of this area. I'm going to take the 3. Health is always helpful to have. Super, super, super helpful to have. And as well as that, I'm on my third 3. I can put this 3 back into my draw pile, which as you can see is getting pretty thin now. And in the last round, we're going to be drawing lots of cards to get up to here. So we're going to be able to get that quite high. I'm going to put the 3 back in as well as some higher numbers right now, I think. And a 2 if a 2's in there. So if we can get this last 3, we get a super powerful effect. So we're going to face the third boss, which is Qinglong, our blue dragon of the east, who has 20 attack and 40 health. Okay, 20 attack and 40 health. So what I think I'm going to do for this is I'm going to add 5 to my single damage roll, and I'm going to add 4 to my d4. Okay, so I'm adding 5 here, so that's dealing 10 damage, and I'm adding 4 onto my 3, so I'm dealing 17 damage. It still has 23 damage left. I've got a total of 8, so I can spend this card to bring these dice back into my hand. I'm going to spend this card as adding 5 to my d4, and I'm going to spend this card as adding 4 to my d8. So it's on 23 health. I'm going to add 5 plus 2, so that's 7. So it's on 16 health. 3 plus 4 is 7, so it's on 9 health at the end of this round. I can't use another diamond in this turn, so it's going to attack me for 20 damage. I can block 13 damage, which means I will take 7 if I exhaust all of these cards. Was 3 in here and 2 in here. Okay, so I'll take 7 damage. I'm on 11. I'll go down to 4. It has... how much health left? It was on 14, and then I dealt another 16. So it's on 9 health left. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend this card to add 3 to this roll, and this card to add 3 to each roll. So I'm dealing 6 on top of each roll. It's got 9 health left. Deal 6, it's on 3 health left. 1 plus 3 is 4. It is destroyed. So the King of Hearts joins my blessings table. Restore every card after the area, and then choose 3 cards to place back into the deck. Good. So I'm obviously going to choose the 3 to come back into here, because if I get that, it's super good. I'm going to add a couple of high cards in as well. Let's add the king, and I feel like a 9 is pretty safe. 2. Reason why I'm adding these in is because our point totals now go quite high, so we're going to need lots of cards to get there. The last run that I did, I actually lost here because I was drawing cards and I ran out of cards in the deck before I reached 30 points. So I actually lost, not because I ran out of health, but because I ran out of cards. So that's why it's important to keep adding and think about the management of your draw deck. Give it a shuffle after you've added some cards in, and we're going to move on to the final area. We've defeated 3 of the 4 symbols. We're trying to defeat the 4th. Xuan Wu, the black tortoise, the black warrior of the north, who has imprisoned the yellow dragon, and by decree of the Jade Emperor and the Dragon King and his 9 sons, we are tasked to defeat the 4 symbols and bring the yellow dragon back into balance with the earth. Okay, let's draw our 3 cards. Take the 3, add it here. The 3 is super powerful because what it does is now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of a kind. I'm going to discard these cards, which is really bad actually. We've got 4 of a kind, so every consecutive die rolled in one turn has its damage increased by 1. So here I would add 1 damage, add 2 damage if I use this to bring cards back, another 3 damage, add on top of this 4 damage. It's really cumulative if I've got diamonds to help it out. Okay, wave up to 28 points. So 10, 19, 26, 26, 33. So here is our round. Do I want to add anything at the beginning? I do think I'm going to do this to add a roll to our d4. which means I'm going to roll this one first. This is 1 plus 1 from here. Let's have a little counter on here, actually. So for the first die rolled, I'm going to add a +1. So I'm dealing 2 damage to a single card, which will be this one at the top. So we're on 7, 7, 9, and 10. I'm going to add 5 to my d4 from here, +2. So I'm dealing +7 damage on this, and a 3, so that's 10 damage to all of them. They all get destroyed. Now you see how powerful this card is. Super powerful. But then you have to play with 3s, which are really low cards to play with. So that's why it's balanced up as it is. Okay, next blessing. 6 of spades, 2 of diamonds, 2 of spades. 6 of diamonds, 2 of diamonds, spades. 2s, we've got 2 2s on the board, so we do want 2s. Whichever 2 we pick is going to be discarded, so we don't get to the 2s anyway. So, because this card is going to help us defeat the boss quite a lot, I do actually want diamonds on the board. So, I'm going to take the highest diamond available. I'm going to take the 6. And then we're going to go up to 29. 6, 11, 15, 25, 29. So these are going to be the cards that we deal with. So I'm going to deal single target damage +1. So this is going to deal 6 damage to a card. I'm going to do it to this card. Then I'm going to add 2 damage to the second die that I roll. So this is currently 4, 4, 5, 6, 4. And we deal with a 3 plus 2 is 5. So we dealt 5 damage to all of the cards, which means all of these but the 6 is destroyed. After this, I'm going to use this 6 and exhaust it to bring back this card, which is going to get +3 to its damage. And this card's going to be destroyed as well. These cards get placed face down on the top of our deck. And now we're going to deal 3 blessings cards. These are all quite high, which is not good for me because I'm going to need to get to 30 on this last one. Let's take the Jack of Clubs because we can't use 2 diamonds in the same turn anyway, and we've got some good diamonds on the board. Let's just increase our damage when it comes to dealing with the final boss. And now we need to go up to 30. This is the final wave. So 16, 23, 29, 34. Okay. For this, I'm going to roll single damage first, which is going to get +1. So this is 2. I'm going to take this down to a 7. So now we've got 7, 7, 7, 6, and 5. I'm going to add 2 to the next roll, which means I now deal 4 damage to all of them. I'm going to exhaust the 3 of diamonds to get my cards back into my hand. So all of these have taken 3, so this is on 4, 4, 4, 3, and 2. I might as well add this single target damage to add 5 onto this roll, plus 3 onto this roll. Adding 8 plus 4 is 12. Let's just get rid of the 9, so it's closer to the top first. And then I'm going to add 4 to this roll. This card is really powerful because it essentially means I get to keep all of these cards intact for when it comes to the final boss. Because I deal 4 plus 4, 8 damage to all of them. They all get destroyed. I'm going to put them in this way, so I've got the higher cards at the top, which means for my final blessing, we'll see what I get. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take health. We can only use 1 diamond per turn, so I'm going to need to make sure that I can try to take as much health, which I don't think taking health is going to be important. It doesn't matter which card I take here, essentially. The health can go actually 10, 18. It's going to deal 25 damage, so essentially I need to be able to cover 18. 25 minus 3, I need to be able to cover 22 damage. 18 Yeah, I can do that with the 4. Good. So that's actually quite helpful. And now we are on to the final boss. And thanks to the way that I've drafted the board, I'm actually quite in a good position for this. Okay, so first dice I'm going to roll is my D8. I'm going to add 5 to this, plus 1. So I'm going to deal with this. This card has 50 health and 25 attack. So I'm dealing 5 plus 5 plus 1, 11 damage. So now it's got 39 health. In the place of this card, I'm going to do this one. So this is going to add 3 because of our 8s. This is going to add 3 plus 2. So I'm going to deal 5 damage on top of 1. So I'm dealing 6 damage. It was on 39. It's on 33. Okay. So I've got 6. Do I have a 6 of diamonds? I've got a 6 of diamonds. So I can bring both of these cards back into my hand. The next card I'm going to do increases its damage by 3. And I'm going to tap this card to increase its damage by another 4. So it's going to deal plus 7. It's on 30... It's on 33 health, plus another 8 health, brings it down to 25 health. This is still the same turn, so I'm going to add 4 to this roll, and I'm going to add another 5 using this. So I'm going to deal another 9 damage on top of this roll. It's on 25, plus minus 12, it's on 13 health. The boss is on 13 health. I can't use another diamond because I've already used one this turn. This gets reset to 1, and it's going to attack me for 25 damage. So I can take 10 damage, 20 damage by exhausting these, 24 damage, and let's just keep my health points because I think I win the next turn anyway. So let's just keep my points, my tally, my health as high as possible. We'll reduce all damage taken by this attack. And in my next turn, remember it has 12 health. I'm going to have 1 plus nothing. 12 health minus 3 is 9 health. I'm going to add 2, and I'm going to add 5. I'm going to add 2, and I'm going to add 5. So that's going to add 7 to this. It's on 9 health. 7 plus things is 13. Xianwu is destroyed. We win. And yeah, we've saved the Yellow Dragon. Yellow Dragon has come back. The Jade Emperor is happy. The Dragon Kings are happy. The 9 Sons are happy. Everyone's great. There is a little roguelite element to this game in which I have got 1 and 2 greater blessings from this turn. If you want to play with roguelite rules, you can add an additional rule where for every unique greater blessing you've collected over your entire time playing the game, you can get a free reroll with the blessing. So if you took these 3 cards, you can choose to put one of them back to the bottom of your deck and reset. That would be 1 reroll. So on the next run, I could choose to have 2 total rerolls for my entire run, which is pretty nice. So you can play it kind of like a roguelite in that way. So even if I lost here, I would still take a little bit of progression into the next run. You can play it that way. I quite like playing it that way. You can choose whether to have this rule in or not. But yeah, that is 11th Dragon. This is actually the first time I've cleared the game. I've played about 3 or 4 runs. I've lost on attack, damage. Luckily this king was a 10 of hearts. If this wasn't a hearts, we probably lost. We got very lucky with the 8s at the beginning, which really helped our things. We got a joker in our second round, which was really helpful, and we were able to get a really, really powerful greater blessing in collecting all of the 3s as well, which we got quite lucky with. So yeah, I think we managed the deck better this time. I haven't managed the deck particularly well in previous runs, which is where I've lost. But yeah, this was this was quite successful. So let me know what you think of the game. I'm going to have this playmat which can fold up into a little folder. I've got actually one here. So the playmat folds up and it goes into a little rulebook. We've got all of the greater blessings, your health tracker, and the summary of the greater blessings in here. 11th Dragon. It does open up to have the playmat, and on the back of the playmat you do have a little introduction of the playmat and the story of the game, and then you have the rules on the back of here. So I'll have that in a PDF ready to download. So you've got all the rules back here. You've got a summary of all of the dragon's sons and the greater blessings that they give on the back here as well. So yeah, that is the game. You can print it out on 1A3 and 1A4. I quite like playing it with this playmat in mind. I'm going to try to get it printed out a little bit nicer than just on printer paper, and see how that changes things. But yeah, adios.